our son Naftali was kidnapped and we later on found out murdered a week after Shavuot. And so it took almost a full year until Yom HaZikaron came around again. And in that first Yom HaZikaron, I remember being surprised by suddenly all the special attention, and as if Yom HaZikaron suddenly became mine or ours, as if it wasn't always ours. Really, I felt like what changed? Life changed, every day changed. There's special days like his birthday or the day was murdered, the day was found. But Yom HaZikaron was always ours. I was privileged. My parents made Aliyah many years before I was born. So growing up in Israel, Yom HaZikaron is almost a sacred day, as sacred as a secular calendar can produce. And you don't have to chas v'chalila lose someone from first degree relative. It's a small country. Everybody knows everybody, and it's always us. It's always Yom HaZikaron is about standing together. So I almost feel the need to apologize. Why would I be taking up your time on Yom HaZikaron? There's so many stories. There's so many wonderful, dear, loved, young lives that were lost, killed in battle, or murdered in terror. And why would I take up the time? And yet, I often meet someone that says, you don't know me, but I know you. And the truth is, I feel like I know you. I feel like I know that person, and like we've been through so much together. Not only in the greater sense of Am Yisrael, but in this specific context of Eyal, Gilad, and Naftali, of the kidnapping of the boys, and that we've been together in such significant times that it's okay us spending now these next few minutes talking about them, talking about the family, and talking about who we were as a nation during those times. Sometimes it feels like it's been 1,000 years, and sometimes as if it's 5 minutes. And the truth is, I don't know how you feel, what you remember, what your young members of family know. So we chose to bring a video to show you that brings the images of those days. We started in the summer of 2014 with 18 days of search for the boys. It was called Mivtza Shuvu Achim, my brother's keeper. Yeah, it's like the answer to the rhetorical question. Yes, I am my brother's keeper. And then it became, that summer, turned into Operation Protective Edge in Gaza. And there were 50 days of battle and altogether 75 people on our side killed. And the pictures you're going to see remind us of those days. Of the hardship, of the fighting, but also of the standing together, of the prayers, of the rallies, of the connection we felt. I'll apologize. This movie is from the Shloshim. We were busy just learning how to breathe again, and I think there's a little overemphasis of the families. But the truth is, take it metaphorically, please. Whenever we see someone that gets more than a few seconds of attention in our life, often in sad circumstances, we find ourselves often in awe. Look at those people. Look who we lost. Look how people are coping. So, it should be, Bezrat Hashem, only in happy occasions. But in this movie that you're going to watch, when they say the families, take it metaphorically. It's all of us. It's us. It's you. It's all the unbelievable people that make up the fabric of this Am Yisrael.
כל העם אבל יחד עמכם. ב-18 הימים האחרונים נחקקו בליבנו, בלב העם כולו, דמויותיהם של אייל, גלעד ונפתלי. היום הזה הפך באופן ספונטני ליום אבל לאומי. העם כולו התפלל לשוב הבנים, והעם כולו ראה את אצילות הנפש, את החוסן הפנימי שלכם ההורים. הנה למדנו מכם שיעור שלא יישכח, של אמונה ונחישות, של אחדות ורגישות, של יהדות ואנושיות. עם שלם עמד יחד וקיבל תזכורת מי אנחנו, מדוע אנחנו כאן. ולא פחות מזה, אלו כוחות גדולים עצורים בנו.
אס אחי, אנוכי מבקש, הגידנו לי, איפה הם גדולים. אס אחי, אנוכי מבקש, הגידנו לי, איפה הם גדולים. אס אחי, אנוכי מבקש, אס אחי, אנוכי מבקש, אס אחי, אנוכי מבקש, הגידנו לי, איפה הם רואים.
אני, כמו הרבה אזרחים אחרים, מרגיש שהם ילדים שלנו ורק שלנו.
איפה הם רואים, איפה הם רואים.
יש כאן עם שלם איתנו שמחכה לך, עם שלם שמחבק, מתפלל, מייחל לשובך הביתה בשלום.
אס אחי, אנוכי מבקש, הגידנו לי, איפה הם רואים. אס אחי, אנוכי מבקש, הגידנו לי, איפה הם רואים.
בימים האלה אנחנו מרגישים חיבוק עצום מכל עם ישראל. זה מלווה אותנו שעה-שעה, וזה מאוד 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 מחזק אותנו. אנחנו מבקשים להמשיך בתפילות ולהמשיך בכל העשייה הטובה שמורגשת במדינה בימים האלה.
איפה הם רואים, אס אחי, אנוכי מבקש, הגידנו לי, איפה הם רואים, איפה הם רואים.
איילי שלי, בזכות הנתינה שלך ללא גבול ואהבת הזולת שלך ללא סייג, עם ישראל מחזיר לך אהבה. כל העם מתאחד.
זו לא הלוויה של חלק אחד בעם, לא קבוצה אחת קוראת קריאה, ואנחנו זקוקים אחד לשני ביום הזה.
וכמה ימים שיש ישראל אחרת, מאוחדת, מלוכדת, מתפללת, לוחמת.
עם ישראל כולו מאחורינו, צאו להתקפה, התקפה סוף.
עשרות עשרות אלפים ליוו אמש את סמל ראשון שון כרמלי, זכרו לברכה, בדרכו האחרונה.
אין דבר כזה חייל בודד במדינה הזאת. כולם למען כולם.
בטח שאתה גאווה. גאווה.
מתוך החושך הגדול, להמשיך את החיים, להמשיך את האמונה ואת השמחה.
אני חוזר להמשיך את המשימה של החטיבה, להצטרף ללוחמים שעדיין עושים את העבודה.
אנכי מבקש, הגידנו לי, איפה הם רואים? אסחי, אנכי מבקש, הגידנו לי,
בננו היקר, וואו. אנחנו אוהבים אותך, יאללה.
תנוח בשלום, ילד שלי. אנחנו נלמד לשיר בלעדיך. את הקול השני שלך תמיד, תמיד, תמיד נשמע בתוכנו.
גלעד שלי, כפי שכבר אמרתי לך, אתה כבר לא רק שלי. המשפחה המורחבת הכוללת את כל עם ישראל נמצאת היום איתנו, מחבקת אותך בריקי פרידה אחרונים שהם לא ממש פרידה.
3 משפחות כאלה יכולות להרים עם נדבהים שלא ידע כמוהו.
So, I'm curious to know how you felt watching that movie, if it brought back memories, if there are things that it made you think of. How we are today, thank God, we're good. We miss Naftali terribly. We miss who he was, who he could have been. But you know, a person could take a photograph focusing on his wound and it will fill up the frame, or they can choose to use a wide lens. And in the wide lens, you know, he's still right there in the center, but there's so much more. There's so many colors. There's so much blessing. I think the feeling of being basically blessed is a core part of our existence. When I think back of that summer, after the search, after the war, I remember this sense of gratitude that was so much larger than us. It was something that was hard to contain because we felt we were the recipients of so much caring, of so much goodness. And we couldn't begin to think how we can possibly give some of that back or pass it on. And on the other feeling I remember is this, besides, you know, the pain, the hardship, the regular stuff. I also remember this sense of responsibility, that something of this spirit of the unity, of the togetherness, of the caring, some of this spirit must stay alive, and that it's on us to try to make it live on. So we became involved in wonderful projects, Unity Day that was celebrated in 40 countries around the world, and Jerusalem Unity Prize that recognizes people that are involved in bringing different parts of the Jewish world and Israeli society closer to each other, getting to know each other, connecting. And the things that are constantly happening, sometimes they surprise us. I remember during that time, there were many communities that sent us books full of wishes, but also of mitzvot and decisions, and people that were starting projects. I especially remember one community I later on became very close to, that at the time decided to collect 1,000 mitzvot in merit of the boys. It later became in memory of the boys. And at some point they made this little video where some of the people said what their mitzvah was. One person decided to put on tefillin once a week, or to kasher their kitchen, or to try to make up with someone, or to say tehillim, whatever it was. And then the rabbi said, we heard the terrorists saying, put down your head, and this is our way to keep our head up high. And it was wonderful, very emotional seeing that video a few months after the murder. And I remember this wonderful lady coming to me on the side and saying, I didn't want to say this on the movie, but the mitzvah that I chose was to date only Jews. And I remember thinking and saying, for a 16-and-a-half-year-old kid, you have quite an effect on generations. So, sometimes the ripples of a person's influence, get places you can't believe. And our recent experience was just a few months ago. We got this phone call. It was very hard to understand what the story was. And then we learned that at the time, there was a 10-year-old kid from Bruchin that was very involved, like many others. And then when the bad news came, he decided he has to write a Sefer Torah in memory of the boys. Now, he's a 10-year-old kid, so, he thought it might be very expensive, 1,000 shekel, the equivalent of, $300, $400. And turns out this kid is a very stubborn, very persistent kid. And he started working, selling candy door to door and popcorn and drinks. And then he got his friends involved. And then, it grew and grew and grew. And they didn't stop for 5 years. And this past summer, they actually got this real amazing, wonderful Sefer Torah that on the back, it says, embroidered on it, it says, this Sefer Torah is a realization of the dream of 10-year-old children. And it was in memory of Eyal, Gilad, and Naftali. And it was unbelievable, and this is a kid's dream, he could have been angry and frustrated and go destroy something. Instead, a 10-year-old little child in Eretz Yisrael says, I need to write a Sefer Torah, and he turns the world upside down, and he succeeds. People were amazing to us. A very significant group in our life are Naftali's close friends that are in touch with us. We've gone with them through yeshiva, through the army. Some became officers. Some, are slowly continuing in their life. And it's bittersweet, but we love them so much, and they bring Naftali home, and it's so significant for us and for his siblings. These Corona days when the whole family is at home all day, you often think of what would his role be here and what he would have said, and how the puzzle would be different. But the truth is, personally, and I'm saying this only, from our little perspective, I don't believe in commemoration. I hope he lives on in the life of his family and his friends, the people who knew him. What I think is worthwhile, reminding ourselves, keeping in our memory for as long as that still has the capacity to keep us moving, to keep us optimistic and believing, maybe to keep us inspired, is the memory of who we were during that summer, of who we were as a society, as a people, how we cared, how we connected, how we came together. As long as that has power, I think I'll keep on telling this story.